Hello, Cherries fans. Hope you're doing well this Thursday. Hope you're smiling after last night's Carabao Cup win. Tomorrow on Back of the Net, myself and Tom, we're going to go over some of the points from that game in our preview for Arsenal. And this show is all about Arsenal as well. It's time for an opposition preview where we welcome a fan of the opposition. Our run has not been particularly easy, has it? It doesn't get any easier with this one. But how can Bournemouth get at them? Which player do they most admire? And also, what do they think the game's going to go like? Have they got injury troubles? We will find out. So to talk about it, we have got Mr. Dan Potts with us. You'll have seen him on AFCB, DR Sports, but also football's 12th Man podcast. Dan, how are you doing, sir? You all right?
I'm good, man. I'm good after Arsenal's victory at Brentford, which, to be fair, might sound a bit strange to say, but I was actually quite surprised that it was as it went. I thought it was going to be a very, very difficult game, which of course it was, but I just weren't too confident with this one. So I'm buzzing, man. We still haven't lost, which is crazy when you speak to some Arsenal fans because it's absolute crisis for some of them. But it's not been a terrible start, Sam.
No,
How are you, mate?
It's doing well. I find it really interesting because I think obviously when you have a fast start and when you tail off like you did like last season, obviously that's a real disappointment. But you're doing nothing different to what Man City usually do because they usually start off a kind of, I wouldn't say snail's pace, but like in third gear or whatever, and then they just turn it onto fourth, fifth gear, etc. And then they start grinding out the results. I don't see anything different. I think maybe the football this season though has been slightly different. I think it's been more solid. It's been maybe less fluid than usual. But this season you can tell that the squad depth is absolutely massive for Arsenal. What's been your assessment of how things have gone so far?
Yeah, you're pretty much spot on, man. I can't do more than echo what you've said. We have started differently to last season, but let's not forget that I don't expect Arsenal to start like last season every season. It was phenomenal last season. I never ever thought that we would go to those heights in terms of the football we're playing. If you compare the points to last season, we're 1 point behind this time last season. So it's not actually like wow crisis. They're not the Arsenal of old. But you do the eye test, Sam, and you realise that things aren't quite as rosy as they were. I don't think we had a transfer window that was as exceptional as some Arsenal fans believe. If you look at the bench of last season and this season, not much has changed. Declan Rice has come in for Granit Xhaka. That's not strengthened the bench. That's just strengthened the first 11, which is great, and I love the signing. But other than that, we've got a goalkeeper that's better. But other than that, have we really got a player in that side now that you think, wow, that's taken them to the next level as well as Declan Rice? Kai Havertz is a huge question mark for me. I didn't want the signing, and it's one that Arteta has to get right. Urian Timber is a massive blow that he's been injured for that long. There's not much you can do about that. You know, you sign a new exciting talent and he gets injured for 7 months. Not much you can do about that, unfortunately. But for me, it's not really been the free-flowing, attractive style of football that absolutely blitzes teams. And I think we were seeing that over most of the last season, and we haven't quite seen that. Mikel Arteta has changed the tactics up slightly to be more of a possession-based team, slightly less convincing in terms of the 3 points, but 3 points are always 3 points. The problem we've got so far is that we have dropped points on home by silly mistakes, by experienced heads, Sam. You know, a lot of people say Arsenal got a young side. Jorginho and Zinchenko are not young players. They're experienced heads. So when they're making those mistakes that leads to goal, I'm getting frustrated by that. But yeah, I wouldn't say a totally convincing start to the season for Arsenal, but I think the reason people are going down that route, and myself, I'm to blame for that, is because we know what we're up against, man. If we were going up against Liverpool, if we were going up against United or Chelsea, I'd start to say, look, none of us look great at the moment, but I think we've got a chance. We just know what Man City are like, and they never start this strong. So it's not looking good, man.
What about your goalkeeping position then? Because obviously your Bournemouth fans all love Aaron Ramsdale for obvious reasons, and he was your number one for a long time. And there's a bit of confusion over what's happening at the moment. Is it just rotation like it would be any other position, or is there something deeper to it? It's not helped, of course, by people like Jamie Carragher coming out and saying, I think very tongue-in-cheek remarks about it's like when someone loses the Oscar and he just starts clapping and smiling for the other person. Those kind of remarks. I've seen Aaron Ramsdale's dad, Nick, on social
Yeah.
media talking about it. I think Kara's also come out and said, yeah, I actually respect Nick for coming out and defending his son. But what is the situation with the goalkeeper? Is it just a case of rotation?
Well, there's two ways to answer it, Sam. Am I okay with it? Yes, I'm okay with having two great goalkeepers,
Mm,
but I think Mikel Arteta has actually handled it pretty poorly. If I'm
right.
honest, I don't think he's dealt with it very well, and I'll explain why. You've got two good goalkeepers. You decide who your number one is in the league, and you decide who plays in the cups. You don't
Yeah.
start with Ramsdale for two games and then go, actually, you ain't done nothing wrong, but I just fancy Raya now, so I'll put Raya in now. Come on, man. Like, it doesn't work
Mm,
like that. Aaron Ramsdale has to do something wrong, like every other position, to be dropped. And if he wants to be ruthless in the goalkeeping position, I expect him to be ruthless in other positions. And I'm not seeing the same ruthlessness from Kai Havertz. I'm not
yeah.
seeing the same ruthlessness with Eddie Nketiah. So why is it that Aaron Ramsdale now gets dumped out of the side? When he came into the game last night, he was phenomenal. He saved an unbelievable save that went onto the post. I think he's a great goalkeeper, Sam, and unfortunately, I don't think the media like this goalkeeper because it
Mm.
seems that everyone gets on his case. He's not even that good. He's been relegated 3 times. Oh my
Oh,
God,
I hate
Arsenal
that.
getting well hyped up. He's not even that great of a goalkeeper. David Raya is so much better. Listen, that might be the case. David Raya might be a fantastically better goalkeeper. I'm not going to deny that. He can debate that all day long. The fact is, he doesn't deserve to just be dumped out the side. So, what
Mm,
Mikel Arteta, in my opinion, should have done was said the following: Aaron Ramsdale, you've been phenomenal for us. David Raya is coming in and he is going to be my number one for the Premier League games, but you are going to play the Champions League games and the Cup games. And if
mm,
you train well and if you force your way back into that first 11, then good on you, mate. And that's the way it should have been left. Not this, you'll start Aaron, and now we'll bring in Raya against Everton and in the Champions
yeah.
League. Then you'll come back in for the Carabao Cup. It's a mess. It's all over the place. And what now hasn't been helped is the media because Aaron Ramsdale sits there against Everton and he's like this, Sam. He's down, he's
Mm,
depressed. He's not, what's he supposed to be jumping for joy? And then all the media get on him. Look at him, he's off. He'll be going to Chelsea in the summer. He'll be going to Man United. Only a week later, the North London derby, David Raya pulls off a brilliant save and he goes, well done, son. That was a brilliant
mm,
save. Look at this disgrace of a man. What's he doing? He's clapping it. This guy can't win. What's he supposed to
yeah.
do? Just say to Mikel, don't put me on the coach, mate. I'm not interested. I'm just take me
100%.
out of this TV shot. What the hell is he supposed to do, man? He still wants us to win. He's still a gooner. He still wants to see his teammates doing well. I don't think this guy's done anything wrong, but the media are jumping on him. And big up Nick Ramsdale, by the way, because I know Nick because he comes to the games and the away games, and he's brilliant. And he's this Danny Murphy, who another disgrace. Oh, he's not
Mm.
12. No, hang on a minute. He's sticking up for his son, who shouldn't have been in the highlighted in this media in the way that he has been. The guy's been phenomenal for Arsenal Football Club in the last 2 years. He's made world class saves. He's proven everybody wrong, including a majority of Arsenal fans. So I'm going to stick up for the kid, man. I think it's been handled really, really poorly by the manager. I think it has.
Do you think when Mikel Arteta is deciding his team, he's going to have half an eye on the Man City game, which is after that? Because it's it's a funny one. There's a few players that were rested against Brentford. In fact, we'll talk about the Brentford game just quickly because first half I thought Arsenal were phenomenal really, but then came the Brentford onslaught in the second half with more set pieces, more long throws into the box, and Arsenal had some defending to do. So on the surface, your sort of 1-0 scoreline doesn't look overly flattering, but you really did dig deep in that performance, didn't you?
We did, and it doesn't look flattering, but it's probably no more than what we deserved. I think 1-0, I think 3 or 4-0 would have been a little bit harsh on
Yeah.
Brentford. They had their chances as well, but we defended really well. I mentioned the Ramsdale save. Kivior made a brilliant last-ditch tackle on the
Yeah.
line. Thought Tommy Asu and Gabriel were immense all night. That's the first time that Tommy Asu's played at centre-back, and wow, aerially wins absolutely everything. Jorginho picked up his performance and needed to because that was an unforgivable mistake in the North London derby. And it was good to see the front three that had the energy and the electricity of pace because for me, Nelson was absolutely phenomenal. Got the goal up and down, didn't stop running. Eddie showed a lot of energy. Smith Rowe looked sharp, and that's really important for us moving forward. And of course, we have Sago Jr., who no one had ever heard of on
Mm.
the right hand side. which was a surprise to a lot of Arsenal fans. So I was really, really impressed by that. And I think the biggest test for Mikel Arteta this season is going to be squad rotation, keeping players happy, and allowing us to compete in all 4 competitions, because he's not had to do that yet, Sam. We
Yeah.
haven't even had Champions League under Mikel Arteta yet. So for me, keeping the squad happy and actually competing in all 4 competitions, because we're Arsenal. We're not, without being disrespectful, we're not Everton or West Ham. We don't go for one cup and think, oh, look at us, we can actually go. We should be going for all the cups. We should be raising the standards of this football club. It's been on the floor for far too long. And unfortunately, we get a lot of fans that, oh, we don't want Carabao Cup. We don't want the FA Cup. Well, I do, because we ain't won it for 30 years, the League Cup. And we've never won a Champions League, and we ain't won the Premier League for 20. So when people start saying we're too above the League Cups and the FA Cups, we've won 14 FA Cups and we pride ourselves on them. We can't banter Spurs for not winning trophies if we don't want cups.
Yeah,
That's
true.
just not what happens, mate, for me. So as far as the Brentford game was concerned, I was really pleased. You asked a question about what do we do for the Man City game. I'm not
Yeah.
even thinking about that yet. And I'll tell you why I'm
Okay.
not thinking about it yet. Because everybody started thinking about the North London derby at the Fulham game and we drew 2-2 to Fulham. So let's concentrate on you boys at the weekend first, and then let's go to Lons in midweek, and then we'll talk about Man City, because I'm fed up of this. Oh, in 3 games' time. Well, it got to 3 games' time, and we picked up 2 points in that
Would you
time. So now
would
it
you
doesn't
rather
matter. Do you know what I mean?
would you rather start as strong as you can then with the strongest possible lineup, and then in an ideal world you go 2-0 up, and then you can make the substitutions to take the likes of like Saka off, etc. Is that what
Mm.
you'd hope, or do you think he will be rotating for this one?
Listen, I think he's going to be rotating, but it's how he rotates, and what I
Mm,
mean by that is with Pep Guardiola. When a Manchester City side lines up, he doesn't make 11 wholesale changes.
no.
He makes 4 or 5, and then another 4 or 5 the next game. And then the other 4 or 5 come back in the next game, and then they go out the next game. That's what Mikel Arteta has got to start doing. Not this, let's play 11 different players in the Carabao Cup so that all the
Mm,
11 are fit for Lons, and then all the 11 are then fit for Bournemouth.
yeah.
It's not how it goes for me. You've got to look at your squad and go, right, some of you are going to have to play twice a week. You're just going to have to, because we're a big club now. We're in 4
Mm,
competitions. So for me, it's not about, oh, four changes here, 4 changes for this one. You've got to, for me, rotate correctly, and everybody deserves game time. Manchester City don't have 35 players to select. They have
no.
20 top quality players, and they make the squad rotation correctly, and Pep keeps them all happy. And Arteta, if he can't do that, then sorry, mate, are you the right man to take us forward? Because you've got to learn how to do it. That's the way I see it.
Yeah. All right then. So Bournemouth this weekend. When you see the name Bournemouth appear, and you're looking at an away fixture, obviously we caught up last season. You said it was great in terms of the atmosphere and stuff, but in terms of the game itself, I mean, you've just alluded to it there. You're talking about the size of your club. You're talking about the competitions you should be going for. You need to be winning this game, can't you? And
Mm.
given the fact that Man City's ahead of you after that, I mean, it's never an easy game against them. You can't afford to lose, can you? I mean, I don't want to sort of go so far as to say the title's gone if you do lose, but you can see why people do think that.
Well, Sam, we were ahead of them for 96% of the season, and we lost the league.
Mm,
So if we start coming 7 or 8 points behind them, then we've got zero
yeah.
chance, haven't we? That's just facts. That's not like, being negative. That's just factual. We were 8 points clear of them at one stage.
Mm,
Okay, they had a game in hand, so it was only really 5 if you want to go down that road. But you're still 5 points in front, and we still lost the league. So to suggest, that we'd be 5 or 7 points behind them after losing to Bournemouth, and then we've got to play them.
yeah.
You could say that perhaps the title was going to be gone that early.
Mm,
Um, but we can't afford to lose to Bournemouth. We can't afford to drop points to Bournemouth. And Bournemouth are a very good side who I think have been impressive this season under a manager that I think has got an attractive style of play. And I also think when you look at what you represent as a football club, I know people laugh and say, look, that tiny stadium. I love your ground, mate.
mm,
Honestly, I love it. And I know that, I'm not going to do one of these ground swaps because obviously the Emirates is fantastic. But at the
yeah.
same time, when you look at what the club represents and look at where you've come from and look at how you've put yourself where you are, you go to that ground, it's so close to the pitch. You really can see literally everything.
Yeah.
And I love the atmosphere. I think it's fantastic. So I'm not going this weekend, which I'm gutted about
Mm,
because I do enjoy it there. But we can't afford to lose this one. And
no.
we got a few injury problems, bro. So we're going to
Yeah.
have to get by. We've got a few injury problems.
How how do teams beat you? How do we get a result? If you're going to give a team talk, as Bournemouth manager and as a person who wants Bournemouth to win, which obviously is is a concept that you can't imagine. But what's the best way to get at Arsenal?
Um, Go for some set pieces and try and make sure that you are going to be launching stuff in the box against us, because there are weaknesses within our defence still.
Mm.
We're still leaking goals, far too many goals, particularly at home. The problem is, it seems that we are a completely different team away from home because we haven't
Right.
conceded a goal. But we will if you start to launch balls in the box at us. If you start to make it difficult for us from set pieces, corners, free kicks, long throw-ins, a little bit like Brentford were trying to do. And
Yeah.
when one of those comes off, and it's a different game, isn't it? That's all it takes. Fine margins in football.
Yeah.
Um, but what I would say is press us, because we will make mistakes. Zinchenko will give the ball away. Jorginho, we saw, didn't we, on the weekend? He will give the ball away. So we're not going to be a team that 100% will not make mistakes. What we will do, though, is we will be a danger going forward, because we're
Yeah.
just that sort of team. Now, I think if you're going to look to try and target one player, that would be quite foolish. A lot of the times people have put three players on Saka, and then Martinelli just goes down the other wing. Or, Erdegaard will get on the ball because they're all concentrating
Yeah.
on Saka. So you can't concentrate on one player. Now, there is going to be some injury problems this weekend for us, so I
Yeah.
don't quite know what the team's going to be, which I'm sure we'll go through in a minute. But I personally do feel that if you was to look to try and get at this Arsenal side, then just start launching stuff in the box at us, because if we are a team that eventually keep knocking on the door, it will happen. As Fulham know, as Tottenham know,
Yeah.
and as
True.
most of the teams last season that did that to us know.
Yeah, just out of interest, if you had to, I mean, I know your squad is very very good, but if you had to pick a Bournemouth player that you'd put in your side, not necessarily in your starting 11, but in the Arsenal squad, what Bournemouth player would you be looking at thinking, you know what, I'd have them?
Yeah, I've said this a few times over the last couple about Bournemouth. I think it would be. Why have I forgotten his name in the middle? He's been brilliant for you for the last couple of years. Big lad.
Philip Billing?
What's his name? Philip Billing. Thank you.
Yeah,
Philip
Philly.
Billing is the guy I would take, 100%, bro.
Yeah,
I'm a big fan, and have been actually ever since I saw him. Where was he before Bournemouth? He was somewhere where he was good there as well. I can't remember where he was.
Huddersfield. Yeah,
At Huddersfield,
yeah,
when they were in the Prem. I remember him there, and I thought, well, he's like their best player by far. Huddersfield are
mm,
going down. And then he come to you boys and thought, yep, he's looking very, very good. Very good presence. Scored against us last season, I think, in like the first 90 seconds, didn't he?
yeah,
He
yeah. He
was
did. Yeah,
a fantastic talent. So he'd be the one, man. And I think at the moment in our midfield, Sam,
yeah.
in the summer we're going to have to freshen that up, whatever, because Declan Rice has come, fantastic, but Jorginho and El Neni are in their 30s, and Thomas Partey can't keep fit. So we're going to need to look to refresh that. I'm not saying we're to go for that type of player, but for me, if I had to pick a Bournemouth player right now, that's the reason I'd go for Philip Billing.
Okay, so we have this show with you on the day before the game, and then we do our own preview show. And in it, Tom Jordan always predicts both lineups. So I'll talk you through what he's predicting for Arsenal. Okay, and
Okay.
you can maybe say if you disagree or agree. So he's gone with Raya in goal. Across the
Yep.
back, he's got Ben White, Saliba, Gabriel, Zinchenko, and then in front of them, Rice and Havertz. Then Saka, Odegaard, Nelson with Jesus up top. What are you thinking of that? Any changes?
Yes, it's a good prediction, to be fair. But there is a couple of players I have doubts over, and it's injury
Mm,
problems. I'm still not sure how fit Declan Rice and
yeah.
Bukayo Saka are, and they're the two that we'll find out a lot more about in the coming days, for sure, and we'll know how fit these guys are. Late fitness tests, I imagine, before the
Mm,
game. So we're going to kind of find right the way up to the 2 p.m. to find out who is going to be fit for this one. Trossard and Martinelli, they're not going to be about, I don't think. Thomas Partey is definitely still out. And it's Rice and Saka that are the other two that are doubtful at the moment. Fabio Vieira was nowhere to be seen in the squad for the Brentford game. So that's another player who's a little bit part. And we obviously know that Jurriën Timber is out.
mm.
So already 6 games in, Arsenal have got 6 or 7 injuries. That's a real concern when we're going for all 4 competitions, or we would like to be at least. So I agree with the back five: Raya, Saliba and Gabriel, Ben White and Zinchenko. It is going to be that. That will be the back five.
Yeah.
If Declan Rice is not about, it will be Jorginho.
Right.
I think it will be Kai Havertz, and I think it will be um, a front three that consists of Nelson, and then I think it will probably be Smith Rowe,
Okay.
uh, who plays with Eddie and Jesus. That's what I think it will
Ooh,
probably
okay,
be.
nice.
Because we're going to struggle if we've got Saka, Trossard, Martinelli, Rice, Vieira all injured along with Thomas Partey. We're starting to struggle. We're starting to
Yeah, no,
struggle
God,
for
no.
places now, So it's a good time for Bournemouth to play us for sure, because I don't think you're going to see a fit Bukayo Saka if you see him at all.
Mm.
You're definitely not going to see a fit Rice if you see him at all. You're not going to see Trossard, Martinelli. Vieira has been really
Yeah,
impressive this season. The sort of players you want to not see, Sam, if you're
yeah.
Bournemouth. So, I'm not saying it's going to be wow, we're going to beat them now, but you'd definitely rather play. I guess you would anyway. Rather play Arsenal without Saka and Martinelli and Rice
Yeah.
than with Saka, Martinelli and Rice. I imagine as a Bournemouth fan. So yeah, that's what I would say the team would be, man.
Weirdly starting to feel optimistic about this all of a sudden. I shouldn't be feeling this kind of stuff. Dan, what's your prediction for this one then, mate?
So we really are good away from home at
Yeah.
keeping clean sheets. And it seems strange that we can't do it at the Emirates. I don't know why that is. Perhaps we get a bit excited. But I'm going to go 2-0 to the Arsenal because I just feel that even with the players that we have potentially out, I still feel we'll have enough with our strongest side as long as Arteta picks that. I think defensively, it's our best back line and our best back five. I think Jorginho, if he plays, will keep it well balanced and again will anchor us. So I'm going to go for a clean sheet here, and I think we will do it 2-0.
2-0, brilliant. Dan, remind people whereabouts they can see your beautiful face, mate.
Thank you, Mo. Listen, thank you for having me on. Always a pleasure talking to you, mate, about football. If you do want to come follow me, it's at Dan Arsenal87, and then it's at Football's 12th Man podcast on YouTube. So thank you, Sam.
Brilliant stuff. So yeah, check out Dan's stuff. And remember, our own preview show will be out tomorrow. Fan cams on Saturday as usual. Vlog on Sunday. Hopefully, it'll be an exciting one. Hopefully, it won't be as tearful and as frustrating as the reverse fixture last season. Don't want to talk about that. Dan, thanks for your time, mate. We'll see you soon.
Thanks, mate.